Hey chocolate friends, Carla here with Opening Chocolate. Today I am going to talk about a maker out of the Hawaiian Islands in the United States, specifically the island of Oahu, called Lonohana. They also have a sister company called Onomea. They make both of those chocolates. I've done bar bits videos, which I'll post here, about Lonohana and even about that Onomea bar before, so you can go back and watch those if you like, but I've never done a profile on the founders of Lonohana, the founder, and how he got into making chocolate, so I thought I would do that today. So it was founded, Lonohana was founded by Seneca Klassen. He has been in the craft chocolate industry for a really long time, not necessarily making chocolate that whole time, but he started off in the early 2000s, and eventually he had a cafe that in California called the Bittersweet Cafe, where they did chocolate drinks and had a selection of craft chocolate. So we'll come back around to that. Let's back up even further. So Seneca, who is the founding member, he has a degree from UC San Diego in philosophy, and in the early 2000s he was working on that degree and being a designer and traveling as a musician, and literally had absolutely nothing to do with food in any way whatsoever. But he decided that wasn't what he wanted to be doing. So he had some friends that were in the winemaking, brewing industry, and he started to shadow them just because he didn't know what was involved in that, and maybe it was cool and something that he wanted to do. And networking through that system, he ended up meeting Alice Medrich, who is kind of like an old school confectioner, and her brother Albert in 2003. Albert was working for Scharfenberger at the time, and he was roasting their beans. So Albert invited him to come in on a Saturday when no one was there, and he could watch him do what he was doing, roasting his beans. And Seneca got to try all of these different amazing origins and realized that their flavors were so different coming out of them. Eventually he met John and Robert, the founders of Scharfenberger, and I talked about them before. I'll post a link up there. And they really helped him understand the process more about roasting profiles and raw selection and all of that stuff. And the more he tried origins, the more he wanted to taste more different origins. This is a crazy rabbit hole that you fall down into in the craft chocolate world. And I can't tell you how many craft chocolate makers started because of Scharfenberger. A lot of them. So in 2005, he started the cafe. It offered a selection of drinks and craft chocolates. Because of this, he knew some of the very early foundational chocolate makers like Alan McClure at Patrick Chocolate, Colin Gasco at Rogue, Steve DeVries Chocolate, and eventually he met Mott Green. Got to talk to Mott Green of the Granada Chocolate Factory, which I've also done a video on. Super interesting, the Granada Chocolate Factory. Go check that one out for sure. So talking to Mott Green really opened Seneca's eyes to how the global cocoa supply chain industry worked, and that it was an extractive economy, that the beans were sent somewhere else, and a lot of the value came in when it was processed in usually the global north. So Mott's whole thing was that he wanted to bring the value back to the island of Grenada, and that's what Seneca decided that he wanted to do. He's like, I want to do what Mott's doing. That just makes more sense to me. And so he started looking around for a place where he could do this. And he was looking for a place that had high quality cacao, that had a lot of visitors, because that's who the majority, that's who Mott was selling to, the visitors that come to the island. You have to have good infrastructure. You got to have electricity to run a factory, that sort of thing, run your AC. And he wanted to have a good place to raise the family. And all signpost just kind of pointed him towards Oahu. So they started looking for a property in Oahu. In 2009, they ended up with purchasing a property on the north shore of Oahu on the Opauela Ridge. Make sure I say that right, Opauela. And they literally had to, well, if you've ever been to Hawaii and you've seen those really tall grasses that grow everywhere, and it's a tropical region, so stuff grows really fast. They literally had to take the farm down to the red earth to start again. So they had to get rid of everything and then start replanting in a sustainable agroforestry pattern. So they would plant companion plants, they would plant windbreak plants. Of course, they're planting cacao. The cacao that they have is kind of a Hawaiian hybrid cacao. Their cacao are very promiscuous plants, so you can't really keep them from switching genetics with each other. So they have this farm on the North Shore. Right now they have over 5,000 trees and about 14 acres. I've had the privilege to go up and visit the farm with Seneca, and it's this amazing little farm. It's got the cacao trees are integrated with windbreak trees so that they're shaded. They're growing other plants on the area. It's just really super interesting and way to sustain and give back to the Aina, the land in Hawaii. And so it took them 4 years to get from buying this and rehabilitating it to having cacao that they can make chocolate with. And that was in 2013 when they had their first cacao. They made their first bar with their Hawaiian cacao. What else do I want to tell you? So they recently also moved their factory. So from their old location to a new location on Queen Street that was an old theater, the old Kewalo Theater. And the factory is super interesting too, because he's got this really interesting mix of these amazing vintage machines and also modern machines. So he's got this 100+ year winnower that he uses, and he's got this old vintage conch that moves the chocolate, that's conching the chocolate, so it's super cool to see. What else do I want to tell you? Alright, so I think that's it for now. I'll talk a little bit more about the sister company after we have tasted the chocolate. So I have 2 bars from him right now. I have the Kanahiku, which means 70 in Hawaiian. So this is a 70% bar. And I have the Lucky 7. I think I'm gonna open the Kanahiku bar today. So let's flip the camera around and taste some chocolate. All right, so here's the one I'm gonna taste. Let's talk a little bit about this gorgeous packaging. Very elegant looking, has a very elegant feel to it. This is a stylized cacao pod. A cross section of the cacao pod. Lonohana comes from 2 Hawaiian words. So Lona is the Hawaiian god of the harvest and music and fertility. Hana means work. So maybe if you've been to the islands, you've heard people say pau hana, which means all done work. So it's kind of, he told me that they work for Lono so that the hana will always be in the right direction, so that they're always working towards the right direction of the Aina and the people of the land. Kanahiku means 70%, grown and made in Hawaiian, so grown on the North Shore. Actually, let's flip it over before I take that off. Let's see. So yeah, family home to state. Kanahiku means 70. Oh, this was the first bar that they made, a straight 70%. A lot of their bars, single origin bars, are 2 ingredient bars, so only cacao and organic cane sugar. Oh, which I didn't mention before is that the land that he bought the farm on is old sugar plantation land. So they were rehabilitating the land from the pretty damaging agriculture that was done while they were harvesting sugarcane in that area of Hawaii, which they no longer do. All right, so what else here? So factory in Queen Street, this is a new factory. They also have a retail location in Kaka'ako. Okay, let's open this up. Look at this beautiful packaging. Isn't it elegant with these leaves? Not cacao leaves, but pretty nonetheless. Gives you very nature vibes coming in. This is a recyclable packaging. Oh, there. So in the inside, it does talk about the word Lono. Oh, okay, and Ohana as well comes into the name there. So Ohana, if you watch Lilo and Stitch, you know Ohana means family in Hawaiian. All right. Okay, cool. So let's open up this bar and take a look. Oh, I might have to use scissors. Okay, let's see if I can not get my fingerprints on it. I love the mold of this gorgeous bar. This is a relief, so you can see how it's up, of the Hawaiian Islands. So it's super cool, or let's say the major Hawaiian Islands. It has a nice color, looks like it's in temper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just break a piece off and listen to the snap. Nice snap. And oh wow, that released a whole, like I just got a waft of aroma coming at me from that snap. That is unusual and delightful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just warm up the cocoa butter with my thumb and smell the aroma and give it a taste, and I'll come back to you. All right, so I just love that island design. Look, it broke around the island when I broke it. That's the big island. So like I said, when I snapped it, I really got that fruity aroma coming straight at me. And I got that when I warmed up the cocoa butter. I got the fruity aroma. I also got really deep roasty notes, and both of those carry over into the chocolate itself. So it has a really like deep roast cacao flavor. Not over roasted, but like pleasant dark roast cacao. There's no bitterness involved. And behind that dark roasted cacao is a bright fruity berry. I don't know that I can distinguish one berry from the other, but it's definitely a bright fruity note in there. And they both just kind of work all the way through. They're just together all the way through as you move through the bar. And it has a lingering roasty note to it in the aftertaste. So interesting. I haven't had this particular, their 70% in a while. I've been trying some of their inclusions. So I find that it's maybe even changed a little bit over the years, that the flavors have gotten a little bit different, a little bit more pronounced, as I guess the cacao has gotten older, or they're fermenting differently, or I don't know what's going on. So they do ferment the beans right on the farm. They have a little fermentary that Seneca and his dad built on the farm so that they don't have to transport the beans anywhere off the farm itself. So that's fun as well. And they dry on the farm as well. All right, so that is the 70% Lonohana bar in this gorgeous, gorgeous packaging. Whoops, I did it wrong. The other one first. Very pretty packaging, very elegant feel to it. That is the So when I flip the camera around, I'll tell you a little bit more about the Onomea, which was born out of the pandemic. So let's flip the camera around and finish up. All right, so I want to tell you two things before we finish up. I want to tell you about one of Seneca's oldest memories having to do with chocolate and how that led to some of his choices today. So when he was growing up, he said his parents were kind of hippy-dippy and he wasn't allowed to have a lot of candy and sugar and that sort of thing. So his grandma would bring him a chocolate orange at Christmas, not the British one, a Dutch one. And this was one of his favorite treats that he got at Christmas. So all grown up Seneca goes out and looks for something to eat that tastes, that reminds him of this taste memory that he has of the chocolate orange. And he tried all these things and they were all like garbage. He didn't like any of them. They were just all junk chocolate. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna make one. So that is how their orange and vanilla bar came into existence, because of his first memory of chocolate, that taste memory that he has from so long ago. So they also make chocolate with Hawaiian coffee, they make chocolate with coconut, they make chocolate with salt, they have chocolate with hibiscus, which I did a video about. Lots of interesting inclusions in addition to their single origin bars from Hawaii. The other thing I want to tell you about is the Onomea brand. So right now I have two of their bars. I have the matcha crunch and the salted macadamia nut. So this brand is a pandemic baby. They were, back when everything shut down, we were all inside, we all took up some kind of something to keep us entertained while we were in lockdown. And one of the things that they asked themselves was, if it's just us here on the islands, is what the Kama'aina want really an elite fine chocolate bar? Is that the vibe right now? And they decided that no, that wasn't really the answer. And the answer was this brand, this Onomea brand. So it is both more accessible in flavor and in price. So they've got island type flavors. This one is salted macadamia nut. Macadamia nuts come from the islands. There's a lot of macadamia nuts grown on the Big Island. And it just hit a price point for a different audience, a different market at the time. In addition, all of the artwork that is on the Onomea wrappers are done by local Hawaiian artists. So in addition to this, they have the lime coconut, they have the pog bar, which I did a video on. And I actually like this one so much. I know exactly where this is. I used to drive by this all the time. We used to swim there as a family. So I actually purchased a print of this one because I loved this one so much, of Waimea Bay on the North Shore. So that is what Onomea is all about. So the two, Lonohana and Onomea, different markets, different audience, different flavors out there. So that, I think, is all I have to say about Lonohana. You can order Lonohana online, but like many origin locations, it is difficult to ship from because of the heat, and you will have to pay a little bit extra to get it shipped to you. So I'd recommend just going to Hawaii and getting yourself some chocolate. I know everyone can't do that, but you know, we can dream. So that is Lonohana. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. So if you've tried Lonohana, been to the islands, had some other Hawaiian chocolate, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about those flavors, about what I talked about today. And thanks for watching. And I hope you'll join me next time when I talk about more chocolate things. See you then.